Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Don't forget, if you like the video, click on like and subscribe and talk about it on chat lines, wherever it is your social media activities, and help us to grow and help more people. I'll talk to you soon. And Antonella says, I have HOCD. Says, Antonella, I need to know your gender first, and your age was 15, is it? I hope you have permission from your parents to be here, because I don't want to step on any toes as far as what is customary to your home. And at the same time, I want to make sure that you understand that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or psychotherapist. The books that I have written is based on my research on scholars of 100 years ago, and my understanding and pondering about the movement of the psyche. And then on that basis, I move on to continue my research on neuroscience and what OCD and HOCD, how it operates, movement of the mind, and then be able to deliver in certain ways that perhaps it's usable for most of you, seems to be enjoying it and getting tremendous amount of help from it. But at the same time, I want you to be clear on that and hope you have permission from your parents to be here as you are so young. Antonella says 15 years old and it's a girl, and she says yes, that she has permission from her parents. All right, then. I believe you. There's no reason not to. And Antonella says, I'm here because here in Mexico, it's difficult to find a psychologist specialized in OCD. And in your videos, I have managed to improve a little. Okay, good. You know, I have the links of famous psychotherapists and experts in this field, such as Dr. Phillipson, Dr. Jan Weiner, Dr. Schwartz. These are world known and not necessarily easy to reach them, but they're there. And of course, my videos in two playlists. One is Intrusive, Transient OCD, HOCD Negative Thoughts, which focuses on interpretation of thoughts and talks about how thoughts are born, how is consciousness born, the relationship between thoughts and consciousness, movement of the psyche. We talk about desire, talk about mechanical process, order, fear. And so in that playlist, there's also very important video that most people have somehow passed by or have not focused on. That's video number 8. Video number 8 has tremendous amount of important information in there, which is not discussed by any medical field or anyone else that could have done any research on the movement of the mind. It's about thoughts. Many of you are wondering why such thoughts, once it starts, keeps coming and gets worse and worse and worse and continues. Well, simply said, in just so that everybody can understand, otherwise I don't mean it to be as simple as law of attraction, but law of attraction in the meaning of one leads to another. And when you start thinking about something negative, whether it's OCD, HOCD, or whatever the heck it may be, the roots of certain thoughts invite similar kind of thoughts. In other words, if you start with a train of thought of some kind, due to anxiety or due to some kind of intrusive thought that shows up, when you data hunt it, it will attract similar kind of thoughts. So you will end up with an array of thoughts of the same intrusive kind. And you wonder, why are these doing here? It's very simple, because thoughts are about resonation. It's like a music. When an orchestra struts a tune on a certain note, other instruments that enter in would naturally be inclined to come in with the same kind of a key, same kind of a tone, to fit into the music, the rhythm that is going. It's all resonation. It would not happen if it was an automatic system. Same thing, when you think about something negative, the resonation is on negative, invites and attracts negative thoughts. That doesn't mean that you are inclined or interested in that thought. It just means the machine is started on a certain program, the brain, thought manufacturing machine. And when it starts on that certain program, certain resonation, it attracts same kind of a garbage. So constantly you will have other garbage, other intrusive thoughts, as long as you're ruminating and staying in there. So in video number 8 of my playlist, Intrusive, Transient, OCD, HOCD, Negative Thoughts, if you watch it, you will see that I have mentioned a very important thing there. Why, you ask, why I have OCD or HOCD or intrusive thoughts? It is not that you have that. First of all, you don't have that. It's the brain that is having it. There's a separation between brain, you, and thoughts. Brain is not you, you're not the brain. Get that in first. Secondly, when brain starts having an access to the inventory of thoughts in consciousness, inventory of material that it makes thoughts out of from the consciousness, it goes in there to pick up something. It may go in there to pick up a word or an image or a thought of a tree. But when it is in there, in the inventory of where all material for creating thoughts, all subjects, all topics that have found their way into your consciousness in that inventory exist, when they go in there, in that inventory, there is only one thought. All thoughts are one, meaning when it goes into that inventory, try to catch something, other thoughts are all one with it, come out with it, and it just happens to show one of them in the screen. It's not like it can go pinpoint one thought and bring it out. When it's trying to bring one thought out, so many millions of other thoughts come out with it because there is only one thought. All thoughts are connected. Brain cannot tell the difference. So when it goes for one negative, brings 100 other negatives. You talk about one negative, brings 100 other negatives, because that's the ability of the brain. That is why it can also make things that they didn't ever exist. Nobody thought of it, like inventions, new discoveries, and all these things. Because of that ability, it also has the same ability in the garbage creation. It creates garbage that never existed. It creates garbage that has no truth to it. It creates garbage that has no existence to it. But it creates garbage because it doesn't understand actuality or virtuality. It creates whatever it can create. And because thoughts are just one, all thoughts are one, are mixed. When it picks up one, so many other shit comes along with it. So it may go in there to pick up a sandwich, to think about a sandwich, and other thoughts are in there. It's like they're stuck together. So thought is one, and you're the one who would be able to have that kind of a freedom and ability to ignore what you don't need and just pay attention to the one that you do need. Or intrusive thoughts keeps coming up and you end up thinking that it's your choice. No, none of them are your choice. You just went in to pick up some water. You went in to pick up some sandwich. You went in to pick up a tree or a scenery, but other thoughts all mingled with it. So if you understand this, then you wouldn't be bamboozled thinking, oh my goodness, this thought showed up. It means something about me. It means nothing about you. None of them are your creation. They're brain's creation. And brain is not you. You're not the brain. Brain is an apparatus, is a tool, and its job is to make thoughts. If you understand this separation, you'd be free from all these HOCD nonsense, because none of them are inclination of your biology and none of them are your choices. It's just a brain's way of functioning. Brain makes things that don't even exist. Yeah. But you have no problem with things that you can understand, such as, brain can create things that don't exist in reality in the world, but it can't create it. In the same way, it can create things about intrusive thoughts, about your inclination that it's not true at all, but it can make you think it's true because that's its ability. It's got a power. But your intellect, which is not the brain, should be able to help you to separate these and free yourself from it. Yeah. For example, brain can imagine a lion. Imagine it with me. A lion with the head of a duck. Such a thing doesn't exist in real world. But this is called neural ensemble, which is a capability of neurons' brains to be able to create these two separate things that they don't have an actuality and reality. They don't exist in real world, but they create it. In the same way, They can create things that you're not about. Your gender, your inclination, your interest, not him, but it brings it into your head. And because it's in the screen of your head and it's powerful, makes you believe something that you're not about. This is why people go crazy. They believe things that is not them. And the contradiction drives them crazy because they can't tell the difference. Why? Because the brain itself is very powerful, but it has no understanding between virtuality and actuality. So when it comes up with something and makes you believe it, you're totally confused because you know there's a discrepancy, there's a conflict, there is a, this is not you, but somehow you say, why is it showing up? And you go nuts, try to prove to yourself that you're not what you think yourself, but it's the brain is suggesting you. But when you understand brain is not you, you're not the brain, then you don't give a damn. You know who you are, and whatever confusion the brain tries to create, you leave it with the brain. That is its confusion, not mine. Why? Because I can actually detect the separation and difference between what the brain is suggesting and my biology. That's why I'm objecting to it. That's why I have a question about it. That's why if I didn't see the contradiction between the two, I wouldn't question it. When there is no contradiction, there is no awareness. When there's an awareness, that means there's a contradiction. That's why the awareness have been created. And when awareness have been created, that means you're not what the brain is suggesting. It's got nothing to do with you. Otherwise, there would be no contradiction. There would be no awareness, hence. So the fact that you're questioning this and it seems uncomfortable or abnormal to you, to each people different, that already has answered your question about, I'm not this. Yeah, you're not. Because if you weren't, you wouldn't even question it. There was no subject to talk about. But there are subjects for you to talk about when the brain suggests something. That awareness of the difference between what the brain suggests and you and your inclination and your values, that awareness is signifying the contradiction, and that contradiction brings about the awareness, and awareness tells you that's got nothing to do with you and you shouldn't worry about it. You should ignore it, focus on what it is that is your choice, not the brain's choice or suggestion, and you go on with your life. And eventually, through this behavior, the brain learns that this is not of your values or interest, and it rewires itself through neuroplasticity because you constantly ignore it, and it learns that it should now lean to different kind of thinking. And it corrects itself because what's gone wrong in the brain has got nothing to do with anything being different with you. What's gone wrong in the brain is that in the center of the brain, in striatum, a lever called caudate nucleus, which is designed to shut down intrusive thoughts, is not functioning properly anymore. There's a glitch in there. So whatever intrusive thoughts that is not in line with your values or inclinations, your gender, your preferences, that shows up, caudate nucleus is not doing its job to shut it down so you can say, because usually intrusive thought shows up in everybody's brain in the world. Everybody, every single human being, 8-9 billion of us, it shows up. But caudate nucleus is designed to shut it down. So you feel like, ooh, that's nasty thought. Whatever it is to you, it's nasty. And then caudate nucleus shuts it down and you go about your business. Done. But in the cases of people who have OCD or subsets of OCD, HOCD, pedophilia OCD, harm OCD, responsibility OCD, all these things, the intrusive thought doesn't get automatically shut down because caudate nucleus is not functioning. So what you have to do, you have to hand deliver the order to prefrontal cortex to tell it, hey, we're not interested in these sort of things. And that hand delivery, manually getting that lever to work to shut it down, is the same as when you ignore the intrusive thoughts. It's when you ignore it and you go about your business based on your vetoes and choices and your preferences, not based on the suggestion, thoughts, images of the brain, based on your vetoes and preferences. Yours, the intellect, the you that is in there. You are not the brain. Brain suggests something that's not your suggestion. That's an apparatus that's making a suggestion, and you, the intellect, the judge, is going to decide if this is of any use or interest to me or not. And when it's not, it ignores and moves on. This ignoring business is the way you're rewiring your brain that is malfunctioning in the signaling system through caudate nucleus. So you help it to, through neuroplasticity, to rewire itself and fix its manners to do what it's supposed, what it's designed to do. In the meantime, you're not supposed to believe whatever the garbage the brain is trying to shove into your throat. Because brain has no gender. Brain doesn't understand your values. Brain is not going to consult with your values that, oh, excuse me, sir, I want to think about something nasty to you. May I? What is your values? It doesn't do that. Just goes and thoughts about whatever they thought. Because why? Because when it goes to pick up one thought, all thoughts are mixed. The association of the one thought to other thoughts is within nanosecond for it. So it goes in there and it association to anything. You see this thing and association to sex and so on. The concept of sex come into the picture and you think what triggered the question is actually what you're interested in. It's not. A trigger could have an association that takes you to somewhere else by the brain in a matter of half a second. And that somewhere else is a concept of sex. And then you think, oh, this concept of sex is because I'm interested in that, I don't know, same gender or same thing. That has nothing to do with it. Anything can trigger something that to you is understood as sex, but the trigger itself has nothing to do with the sex that you are accustomed to. Well, because the trigger was something that is totally, unacceptable to you, but it ended up having association with sex that you understand, you think, oh, the trigger means anything. No, it doesn't. It's the brain that does the association. I don't know if it's clear for you or not. So anyhow, having said all that, in video number 8 in that playlist, you will get to know about the concept of all thoughts are one. That's why we all get so easily confused and have all these kind of thoughts shows up, and then we have questions about it. All right. I hope that would be something helpful to you all. And let's go to the next question.